This video concerns a lost wagon road that I believe I have discovered by flying over it and later verifying on a 19th century map. The road went from the Central Pacific at Desert Station, Nevada, over to current Hazen, Nevada. Between the 1870s and the turn of the century, when it was flooded by the Newlands reclamation project, which put it underwater. Here is the 1890s topographic map that confirmed what I saw from the air. It is probably one of the earliest quadrangles, probably the first, but it clearly shows Desert Station on the Central Pacific and the wagon road going down to Hazen, Nevada, or Ragtown as it was then called. The two green dots are our main geographic reference points in the videos. The top one is at Two Tips Peak, and the bottom one is at Black Butte, at present-day Hazen. On this close-up of the map, we see Desert Station on the Central Pacific Railroad and Ragtown Pass, current-day Hazen. The bottom wagon road exists as current Highway 50. X marks the spot where we do some drone footage of the area. Two video landmark references are the Truckee Range and Black Butte, seen in the videos. How remarkable are these 19th century maps done by surveyors in the horse and wagon age. An aerial drone view of what we just saw on the map. We are looking at a remnants of the vast Pleistocene Lake Lahontan. Desert Station is over there on the base of the mountains. Looking north, we're seeing Fernley Sink, which was part of the 40-mile desert of Western legend. Looking east, we are coming over to the Hot Springs Range, so called because there are 3 geothermal sites along this thin part of the Earth's crust. Black Butte at Hazen is the other geographic reference on our map. Hovering above the Pleistocene beach, we'll raise the drone up for a little bit higher look and pan back. Looking back over the 40-mile desert, the most horrific run on the California Trail from the 1840s to the 1870s. Probably some of the teamsters who later crossed these flats were survivors of the 40-mile desert, a place where there was 1 grave for every mile crossed on the California Trail. Now flying over the area where we shot the drone videos is where I first saw a trail going across wagon tracks across the flats. For a century, this area was underwater due to it being drainage from the Truckee-Carson irrigation district at Fallon. In fact, it was a wildlife refuge and hunting area. The farms went away due to development, so the irrigation drainage ended, and the situation was also aggravated by drought. When I found at 1894 map of the area showing the wagon road had verified what I was seeing from the air. One of the things I love about flying is that it presents a moving map of the world that reveals historical places and geological features. From here, the wagon road left the flats and went through this low area over to the site of Black Butte, present-day Hazen. In 1903, the Central Pacific at Desert Station was abandoned and a new route was put in by the Southern Pacific Railroad that crossed over here to Hazen. The yellow dot locates the wagon road in this area. Beyond Hazen, the road went to Lahontan Valley to Stillwater, which was then the only real town, or the county seat of Churchill County. Now we are over Darwin Hot Springs, or what's left of it. It's become inactive due to the steam extraction from the nearby wells. Back over to the west, we are right at the site of Desert Station on the Central Pacific, which is mostly obscured by Interstate 80. From here, we can see faint traces of the wagon road right there that left across the flats from Desert Station. Now people cross the 40-mile desert on Interstate 80 in air-conditioned comfort, and they complain about their trip. From here, it is largely unchanged from pioneer days. In fact, it's 80 miles to gasoline from here. Better fill up. Flying from east to west, we can see our two landmarks, Black Butte at Hazen and Two Tips in the Truckee Range. Turning around Black Butte, the turbulence is kind of bouncing us around here. Hold on to your lunch. The red arrow marks the route of the wagon road across. The shoreline features of Pleistocene Lake Lahontan become apparent. Beaches where camels and horses and saber-toothed tigers once roamed. The dot marks the place where the road crossed in this area. The Union Pacific Railroad is a successor to the Southern Pacific Railroad and the Central Pacific Railroad, the first transcontinental railway, the great project of the 19th century America. dot marks a geothermal project, which is taking advantage of the fault zone in this thin part of the Earth's crust. Here at Hazen, through Ragtown Pass, the railroad and the highway overlay the Wagon Road, still taking advantage of the pass between two great sections of ancient Lake Lahontan. Geologists call it Darwin Pass, named for a sighting a little bit around the corner from this view. On the Wagon Trail at Darwin Pass near Hazen, a lahar volcanic formation that flowed from Black Butte. This was once a channel that connected two Great Lakes during the Pleistocene epoch. Looking west, we can see two tips in the Truckee Range where the Wagon Road began. A couple of miles south of the Wagon Road, we're up here on Darwin Sill, which was a great barrier between two sections of ancient Lake Lahontan. 10,000 years ago, the water between the two lake sections broke through, forming a canyon that we now call Darwin Pass. The Darwin Pass channel formed a nice low spot for the wagon roads and later the railroad to get through. Black Butte has stood witness to Miocene volcanism, to Pleistocene megafauna and early humans, to European pioneers. Sphinx-like, it is overseeing the 21st century Anthropocene epoch.